What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. So I'm going to be going over about 12 submissions that you guys gave me of teams to be rated, and I'll just be sort of giving you guys my position by position breakdown in terms of how I would grade them. Then I'll give you guys an overall team grade with a couple suggestions here and there. I might do something like this throughout the course of the regular season as well. I'll be, allowing you guys to submit your teams and any questions you have in terms of what I would do in terms of waiver wire additions, trade moves, and stuff like that. So I'll be here all season long to help you guys sort of manage your rosters. I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can in the comments as well if I don't manage to make your teams into a video. But if you made it into the video, hope you guys find these pretty useful. If you've got any additional questions, or if anybody didn't quite make it in the video and has any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. I do feel like I got to everybody who submitted a team, but if I happen to miss someone, I do apologize. Just let me know in the comments, and I'll get you guys a team grade just outside of this video. So yeah, it was a lot of fun doing these, seeing what sort of teams you guys made. It was a lot of fun seeing, a bunch of players that I've recommended as well throughout the course of the offseason, and seeing that a lot of the advice was taken to heart and all that. So yeah, a lot of fun. Really appreciate seeing all your guys' teams, and we're 2 days away from football. I guess one day by the time you see this. So super excited. Football's here. So yeah, with that, let's just get into the first team. So starting us off here, it's going to be Othan Khan 8174 submitting a team in a 10-team standard scoring league. They started off with the quarterback being Trevor Lawrence. That's like a tier 2 or 3 quarterback for me. I'm going to give that a B-. Their running backs are really awesome. They've got Bijan Robinson and Miles Sanders. I'll give that an A-. Their receivers are great. They've got A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson. That's clearly an A. Their tight end is Darren Waller. In a 10-team league, I'll give that a B. At their flex position, they're playing James Cook, which is a little bit less optimal than I want to be putting out there, but a 10-team league. But I'll still give that a B+. They've got their Eagles defense and Greg Joseph as their kicker. I'm not going to spend time grading defenses or kickers. Their bench wide receivers here are really awesome. They've got Jordan Addison, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, and Elijah Moore. All of those guys are really great. That's an A+ squad for your bench. Their bench running backs are Jalen Warren and Samaje Perine. I'll give that an A. They're both guys that you can play in a pinch if you need to and have legitimate upside over the course of the season. And then they took Anthony Richardson as well. I think that's a good guy to take on your bench. You don't have a true locked-in starter once you get past Justin Herbert. I do like taking Anthony Richardson. So overall, I do like this team. I think my only suggestion that I would really make is if you want to try to package one of your bench wide receivers with either Darren Waller or Trevor Lawrence to try and improve your quarterback or tight end position, I'd consider that. I would try sending something like Jahan Dotson or Jordan Addison plus Darren Waller or plus Trevor Lawrence and getting either Justin Herbert or getting a guy like TJ Hawkinson just to improve that a little bit. In a 10-team league, having those top-tier quarterbacks and tight ends are really important. So if you can do something to really improve those positions, I would recommend it. But overall, you've got a good squad. I think you'll be in good shape over the course of the season. I'll give this team a B+ for now, and I think you've got a good shot going into the year. Next up, we've got Crazy381 submitting a team in an 8-team PPR league. They've obviously got an elite quarterback here in Patrick Mahomes. Their running backs are fantastic as well, going Bijan Robinson and Ramondre Stevenson. Their wide receivers are great, going CeeDee Lamb and Chris Olave. I'll give both the running backs and the wide receiving squads here an A-. In a larger league, this would be an A for sure, but given that you're in an 8-team league, obviously I'm expecting high-end caliber players in every single position. At tight end, you've got TJ Hawkinson. That's solid. I'll give you a B+ there. At your flex spot, you've got Aaron Jones. That's really solid as well. I think he's a very capable guy. Giving you an A- there. Didn't submit a kicker or a defense. That's totally fine. Your bench wide receivers are Drake London, Christian Watson, and JSN. That's really great. I'll give you an A+ there. And your only bench running backs can be Khalil Herbert. I'll give that an A. He's a really solid asset. So overall, I'll give the squad an A-. If I were to give any suggestions, it would be to maybe try and pair TJ Hawkinson with a guy like Christian Watson or Drake London, improve your tight end position so you can get up to Mark Andrews or something like that, or maybe try and capitalize on the recent Travis Kelce injury news, get that stacked. That'd be one way to really improve your roster. But overall, it's a really solid team. I think you've got rock solid start, and you did a really good job of getting those top tier tight ends and quarterbacks, because in an 8-team league especially, that's something that you should be prioritizing. So overall, I'll give this team an A-. In any sort of larger league, this squad would obviously be an A, but because it's an 8-team league, I do expect there to be a slightly better roster overall. So an A- still is really good. It's going to be one of the higher grades in the video. Next up, we've got Financial Awareness submitting a 10-team PPR league team. They started off with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. That's really solid. He slots slide into tier 2, so that'll be an A-. Their running backs are Saquon Barkley and Alexander Madison. That's really solid, but not elite, so I'll give you a B+ there. Your wide receivers are Stephon Diggs and DJ Moore. I'll give that a B just because I'm not exactly a huge fan of DJ Moore. And in a 10-team league, I do expect you to have high-end receivers, especially in a PPR league. At tight end, you've got Mark Andrews. That's great. I'll give you an A-. It's a really great stack to have with Lamar Jackson as well. Kicker and defense are the Cowboys and Greg Joseph. Not going to spend time on that. Your wide receivers are Marquise Brown, Gabe Davis, Jahan Dotson. That's really solid. All of those guys are really fantastic. Give you an A+ for that squad. Your bench wide receivers are going to be bench running backs with Tank Bigsby, Zach Charbonnet, Samaje Perine. Really good approach there. You've got two guys that you can count on a weekly basis in your starting lineup. So just sort of took 3 high-end players, 3 high upside guys, and I think that's a really good approach there. Then you took Anthony Richardson on your bench. I personally don't necessarily think you need to roster Anthony Richardson because you have Lamar Jackson. You're betting on Lamar Jackson panning out. Your team's in a bad spot anyway. So if you want to sort of drop Anthony Richardson and try and grab, maybe one more, or try and add one more like reasonably usable running back that you can start on a consistent basis, you could try and do that. Another thing you could do is try and trade him to somebody that doesn't have a quarterback, see if you can upgrade there. But overall, you've got a really solid squad. I'll give this one an A-. I think you're in a really great spot to start the season. Next up, we've got Dean Dog 111 in a 12-team half PPR league. They started off their draft with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. That'll be an A-. Their running backs are Christian McCaffrey and Cam Akers. I will give that an A-, although there's a lot of risk associated with kind of both those guys, to be honest. Wide receivers are Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle. That'll be an A. Clearly, that's elite. Tight end's going to be Evan Ingram. That'll be a B-, just like a tier 3 tight end for me. Not exactly something special, but he's not going to be horrible for you either. Your flex is Amari Cooper. That's great. That'll earn you an A there. Tight end or kicker and defense weren't submitted. At your bench, you've got Jerry Jeudy and Nico Collins in your wide receiver spots. I think that's really great. I think those are really solid guys. Your bench running backs are A.J. Dillon, Elijah Mitchell, and then at your bench quarterback, you've got Kirk Cousins. Same thing I said with the previous team. You already have Lamar Jackson. I don't think you necessarily need to be rostering Kirk Cousins. I think there's a better way to utilize your roster spot, especially given that you only submitted 5 bench spots. If your benches are that small, I really wouldn't recommend rostering a second quarterback. And the only other suggestion I would give is maybe you could trade Jerry Jeudy plus Evan Ingram to upgrade your tight end position. Jerry Jeudy's a guy that on a consistent basis is never going to crack your starting roster because you have 3 really high-end receivers already. You can only play 3 here, so I'd maybe try to package those 2, Jerry Jeudy and Ingram, to get a guy like Hawkinson or Mark Andrews if you could. But overall, really good team. I'll give you a B+ here. I think you're in really good shape. Next up, we've got Tony Montana, 40-53 in a 12-team PPR league. He started off with Jared Goff at quarterback, so he allowed himself to really run up high-end players everywhere else. You got Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor at running back. I'll give that a B+ just because there's all those question marks surrounding Jonathan Taylor, but I think that Nick Chubb is really going to be a nice stabilizer for you there. Wide receivers are Devontae Adams, Chris Olave, and T. Higgins. That is fantastic. That's very clearly an A+. Your tight end is Sam Laporta. Obviously, you punted on that position a little bit. That'll be a C+. Flex is going to be Elijah Moore. That's a B caliber flex spot, but it's something that I would be a little bit concerned about. On your bench, you do have Cortland Sutton, so I'd probably actually be starting him week 1 over Elijah Moore, and that made me feel a little bit better about your flex, but I think that's totally okay. He's also the only wide receiver on your bench. That's a little bit concerning, but you do have 5 total wide receivers, so you're totally okay. Your bench running backs are only Jalen Warren, Kareem Hunt, and Leonard Fournette. Only one of those guys is currently employed right now, and Jonathan Taylor is probably going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season, so right now you are looking to be starting Jalen Warren on a weekly basis. I would potentially be looking to cut either Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt, or both of them to add guys that you could potentially start in a pinch. Guys like Devon Achane if they're on waivers, Kenneth Gainwell might be, Roshan Johnson could be on waivers in some of your leagues. Just try and get yourself a running back that you can actually play if you need to. The other suggestion I would make is, your tight end and quarterbacks aren't very optimal. I do like that you sort of went with the Jared Goff, Sam Laporta stack. That's pretty fun. I think week 1, that's a totally fine streaming option, but you might want to look around, see if there's anything you can do on the waiver wire to improve either one of those spots this season. Next, we've got NEEKOHLAI submitting a team in a 12-team 0.5 PPR league. They started off with Justin Herbert at quarterback. That's really great. That's going to be an A- there. Their running backs are Nick Chubb and DeAndre Swift. That'll be a B+ grade. Nick Chubb's obviously elite, but DeAndre Swift carries a lot of risk associated with him. There are 3 starting wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, and Marquise Brown. That's really solid. I think that's going to be an A- group. For a 3 wide receiver league, that's a really solid trio to have. Tight end being Mark Andrews, that'll earn you an A. A+ would have been Travis Kelce, but Mark Andrews is going to be an A, especially in a 12-team league here. Your flex, though, is Adam Thielen. I think he could be used in a flex and in a deeper 12-team league like this. I think that's totally okay, but it is a little scary. You'd prefer to be a little bit deeper and not starting Adam Thielen in week 1. Your bench wide receivers are Quentin Johnson and Marvin Mims. I'll give those a B over here. I think there's a really solid upside for both those guys, but not guys that I'm really comfortable starting early on in the season. At running back, you've got Jamal Williams, Rashad Penny, and Tyler Algier. I personally think that I would actually be starting Jamal Williams over Adam Thielen week 1 here. I really like his role in the offense to start the season, so I'd probably be starting him there. That's still a B group, though. Really solid guys, a lot of upside there. Your bench tight end is Sam Laporta. I'll give that a B, although I would recommend that you could probably cut Sam Laporta. You've got Mark Andrews, and I know there's been some injury concerns surrounding him overall, but I think he's going to be ready to go week 1. If you really want to roster a second tight end, just pick up Isaiah Likely, because he'd probably be a top 5 tight end in the instance Mark Andrews were to miss. So if you want to roster a second tight end, I think Likely's the better guy for you if you have Mark Andrews, and otherwise I would just not roster a second one and go for some more upside on the bench there. But overall, really good team. I'll give you an A- here. I really like the squad. Next up, we've got Ben Fischler submitting a 12-team Superflex team, and I believe they drafted from the 12 spot in this league. So they were in a really tough spot there. Clearly, you can tell that they started off by going Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase to start out the team, having to sort of punt on that early round of quarterback. So at quarterback one, they ended up with Deshaun Watson. The running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs and J.K. Dobbins. Quarterback will give them a B there for Deshaun Watson. Gibbs and Dobbins are also going to be B caliber running backs. At wide receiver, though, they've got Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Amari Cooper. That's clearly an A plus squad. That's going to be really solid. At tight end, they've got David Njoku. That's just fine. That's going to be a B for me. Their flex or super flex here is Derek Carr. Really solid super flex option. I like him as a low end quarterback too, and I think he's going to be totally solid this season. That's going to earn you a B. Kicker and defense, Ravens and Brandon McManus. Not going to grade that. Bench wide receivers are really great as well. They've got Chris Godwin and Zay Flowers. That's clearly an A plus bench unit. At bench running back, though, they've got Kenneth Gainwell and Elijah Mitchell. Nothing super exciting there, but I think you can play those guys, and that's totally okay. And then adding Sam Howell as their third quarterback is really solid. I really like this team. I'm going to give it a B plus overall. The only suggestion I might have is that maybe you could try and trade either Godwin and one of your quarterbacks to upgrade the quarterback spot, or you could try and trade one of those pieces plus David Njoku to increase your tight end spot. But overall, it's a really quality team. I like the team a lot. I think you've got a lot of room to grow here, and you're obviously in a really tough spot picking at the end of the first when you've got yourself in a super flex league and all those top tier quarterbacks are gone. So really good job here. Next up, we've got MATTHALLAM submitting a 10-team half PPR submission. Their quarterback's Justin Herbert. That'll earn an A-. Their running backs are Josh Jacobs and J.K. Dobbins. That's really solid. That'll be a B+ here. Their wide receivers are Amon-Ra St. Brown and Chris Olave. That's pretty clearly an A. Their tight end is David Njoku. That'll earn them a B. Not good, not bad, but just sort of in between there. A+ for their flex being Jalen Waddle. Kicker and defense weren't submitted. Running backs on the bench are going to be James Conner and David Montgomery. That's really great. That's a lot of depth. They'll get an A. Their bench wide receivers are Mike Williams, Mike Evans, Marquise Brown, and Deebo Samuel. That's very clearly an A+ team, at least at the bench wide receiver squad. I'm going to give this overall an A-. My main suggestion here would be that you've got a ton of depth. There's really good players top to bottom on your bench that you're not going to be starting on a weekly basis. I'd look to package some of that depth with David Njoku and Deebo Samuel, for example, and try and trade up to get a Mark Andrews caliber tight end. It's going to make a huge difference for you in a 10-team league, and you obviously don't need Deebo on your roster. He's never going to crack your starting lineup, and you can definitely improve your starting lineup by doing something like that. But overall, really good. I'll give you an A- because you've got a ton of trade chips on top of what you got here. Next up, we've got YOLOSWAG in a 12-team PPR league submitting their team here. Their quarterback is Jalen Hurts. That's going to be an A+ for me. Their running backs are Antonio Gibson and James Conner. Two guys I like quite a bit at cost, but overall that's still a B- sort of running back room. Their wide receivers are really awesome. They've got Justin Jefferson and Amari Cooper. That's going to be an A. The tight end is Mark Andrews. That'll be an A-. Their flex is Marquise Brown. That's a B+ kind of guy. I like Marquise quite a bit at his cost, but I am a little bit more concerned about him than I was earlier. And you do have Marquise Brown and James Conner. That's a little bit more exposure to the Cardinals than I would want. Kicker and defense are the Packers and Younghoe Koo, or Youngwei Koo. Not very interested or grading either of those. Running backs are Samaje Perine, Zach Charbonnet, and Jonathan Taylor. That's going to be an A+ group. You've got a total of 4 guys I think you can play pretty early in the season, and then Jonathan Taylor's got enough upside to really take your roster over the top if he comes back. Your bench wide receivers are Quentin Johnson and Darnell Mooney. A little bit concerned with that. I don't really feel comfortable starting either one of those guys early on in the season, so if Marquise Brown doesn't pan out while Kyler's out, I'd be a little bit concerned. Overall, though, the team is really great. You've got studs everywhere, and I think you can overcome even having a hole in your starting lineup if you need to. So I'm going to give you an A- here, and if things pan out for Jonathan Taylor, I think you got a really elite squad. I don't really see a world where you'd be a beatable team if Jonathan Taylor ends up panning out for you. Next up, we've got Josh Lieberum, 1918 in a 10-team PPR league. Their quarterback is Justin Herbert. That'll be an A-. Their running backs are Josh Jacobs and Jahmyr Gibbs. Really solid group there. That'll be an A- as well. Starting wide receivers are Garrett Wilson and Calvin Ridley. Also really solid. That's an A-. The tight end is Darren Waller. That'll be a B+ for me. Just below that tier of Andrews. So one little bit of a letter grade below, but totally fine. Really happy to have Waller on the squad if you want him. Keenan Allen as the flex is going to earn you an A there. Steelers and Evan McPherson at kicker and defense. Rashad White and Khalil Herbert are your only two bench running backs. I think that's totally fine. You have 4 good running backs on your roster. You should be able to start 2 of those any given week. No problem, especially in a full PPR league. You don't need to be looking to start more than 2 running backs. Your bench wide receivers are Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, and Zay Flowers. Love all of those. It's clearly an A quality group. You got Aaron Rodgers on your bench for some reason. I'll give that a B-. I don't really think you need him. You have Justin Herbert. If you're ever starting Aaron Rodgers over Justin Herbert, I think things went really wrong for you. I know you maybe wanted to get that Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers stack, but you've already got a stack on your roster with Herbert and Keenan Allen. I think you can drop Aaron Rodgers if you want. Also, you've got the Cowboys defense on your bench. I don't necessarily recommend carrying 2 defenses on your team. You're more than welcome to do it, especially because you do have some larger benches in this league. Looks like you've got 7 spots, so you can do that if you want, but I definitely wouldn't roster 2 quarterbacks and a second defense. So overall, a really good squad. I'll give you a B plus here, just because I think there's just little things you can do to clean up your bench, but really good team. I think you got a really good really good shot at really winning your league this season. So I like what you did here. Next up, we've got Phantom Duker 19 in a 12-team half PPR league. Their quarterback is Justin Fields. That's going to earn a B plus for me. Clearly in the tier 2 of quarterbacks, but towards the bottom of that tier for me, just because someone that I'm a little bit concerned about. I think the floor is a lot lower than a lot of people are giving it credit for. Running backs are awesome here. Bijan Robinson and Aaron Jones. That'll earn you an A. Wide receivers are a little questionable. You got Chris Olave and Cortland Sutton. Obviously, I love Chris Olave, and I think Sutton's going to be really solid to start the season, but just because it's a little bit less than I want, I would like Sutton to be a wide receiver 3 if I could, so I'll have to give that a B here. Tight end being Darren Waller, that's going to be a B plus. That's really solid. Your flex spots, you've got 2 of them, and you've got David Montgomery and James Conner in there. 2 guys that I really like. That's very clearly going to be an A minus for me. Kicker and defense weren't submitted. That's not a big deal. Your only bench running backs are Javonte Williams and Kareem Hunt. So you only really have 1 running back on your bench that you can play, but you do have 4 in your starting lineup, so I think that's totally okay. I'll give you a B there. Your bench wide receivers are Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, and Quentin Johnston. Really like that. I think you can easily start even honestly, Sky Moore and Jahan Dotson could easily start for you early on. So even though your wide receiver group has got to be there, you've got enough depth that I think some of those guys will pan out and make it really good for you. Overall, I'll give this team a B plus. I think it's really solid. My really only suggestion would just to be honestly just be as active as possible on the waiver wire and see what you can do to beef up your wide receiver position. There's probably going to be an opportunity between Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, and Cortland Sutton. One of those 3 will probably pan out and be really good for you. In a half PPR league, I'm okay playing 4 running backs in my starting lineup, although I generally would prefer to be starting a wide receiver. So if you wanted to trade James Conner for an equal wide receiver, I think you could do that because you've got a lot of good wide receivers. But overall, really good team. I like your squad here, and you've got a really good start going into the season. And last but not least, we've got a really fun one here submitted by Holden Long 5578 in a 14-team 0.75 PPR league. This team went really heavy 0 RB here, so they started with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. That'll be a B plus for me. Their running backs are Deuce Vaughn and Tank Bigsby. That's going to be a D minus. I think that's a pretty fair grade, but you do have a really good squad around that. Your receivers are Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper. That's clearly an A+. You've got Jake Ferguson as your starting tight end. That's a C- for me. Not someone that I really want to be starting early on in the season, although he could be involved enough that he's relevant. My other point with him would be that you're already starting CeeDee Lamb and Deuce Vaughn, so I'd be a little concerned that you're starting 3 Cowboys. But your flex spots also, you've got 3 of them, so really huge rosters here. You've got 3 wide receivers and 3 flex. You're starting Mike Williams, Zay Flowers, and Tyler Lockett. So overall, you've got 6 wide receivers in your roster that are absolutely awesome. Really good start for you there. I'll give that an A for your flex spot. Kicker and defense weren't submitted. Your bench quarterback's going to be Matthew Stafford. I think that's solid. You don't need him, though, because you have Lamar Jackson, so you can drop him if you want. Your bench running backs are Rico Dowdle, Ty Chandler, Jeff Wilson. Overall, really solid in terms of upside over the course of the season. I think all 3 of those guys could start for you at some point, given how thin you are at the running back position. You're going to have to be super active on the waiver wire and try and find whatever you can, scrounge up anything that's useful. Your bench wide receivers are Michael Wilson, Devontae Parker, and Jameson Williams. Really solid there. I'll give you a B there. Overall, I'll give this team a B+. I think you're really stacked everywhere but the running back spots, and obviously I would expect this team to get better over the course of the season. So right now it's a B+, but if you can hit on a couple of running backs throughout the season, I think you've really got a shot to be an A+ caliber team and really dominate your league with the squad that you have here. So I like what you did, and it should be fun to see how this one turns out for you. So that'll do it for the first or second, actually, I Rate Your Teams video. I hope I got to every submission that you guys submitted. Like I said earlier, if I happen to miss any of them in the comments, please do let me know. I'm happy to give you guys a grade as well. If you want to submit your teams, I'll just probably get in the comments rather than actually going through and making another video here. Up next, I'll be getting my first starts of the week video out. So it's week 1 here. We've got NFL football on Thursday. It's super exciting. So if you've got any start-sit questions, let me know. I'll go over as many of those as I can in my weekly starts of the week videos. I'll include several players that are sort of like streamers of the week, and then I'll also go over a couple guys that I really think are going to exceed expectations and really boom those weeks as well. So should be a lot of fun. Really excited for football to start. We're really going to get into our regular season content where I'll be doing a waiver wire video, a trade video, and then a start-sit video, along with maybe an extra video sprinkled in there. So at least 3 videos a week throughout the course of the regular season. If you guys want to make sure you get access to all of that, please do subscribe to the channel. We're at 800 subscribers now, which is super exciting. I'd love to hit 1,000 as soon as possible. That's our next milestone for me, and it's been really cool seeing the channel grow. So if you want to help the channel grow, please do subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it if you're not worried about them getting too much of an inside edge. You're getting to see all these videos along with you, but really been a lot of fun. If you liked the video here, please do give it a thumbs up as well. It really helps with the algorithm, helps me know that I'm doing a good job and all that. So yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. super excited about football to start, and let's get ready for the season. So yeah, thank you guys again so much, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteeleFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.